I've been a long-haul trucker for almost 15 years, and I've seen things on the road that would make most people quit after a week. Drunk drivers, flipped semis, bodies covered with sheets on the shoulder. All of that becomes part of the job after a while. You learn to compartmentalize. But there's one stretch of highway I will never drive again, even if it means losing my livelihood. It's Interstate 17, somewhere between mile marker 232 and 241. If you look it up, you'll find plenty of accidents, sure, but nothing about what I'm going to tell you. What happened to me out there didn't end up in any report. I tried to talk about it once with another driver at a truck stop, and he just went quiet, then told me in a low voice, "You got the markers wrong," and walked away. That was when I realized I wasn't the first. It started on a Tuesday in late October, the kind of night when the sky looks like it's just pressing down on you. Low clouds, no moon, and the kind of darkness that eats your headlights instead of reflecting them. I was hauling refrigerated freight, running behind schedule, and already exhausted. Dispatch had asked if I could push through the night instead of resting. I said yes because that's what you do if you want to keep your routes. Around mile marker 220, I noticed the road getting unusually empty. No taillights ahead, no headlights behind. Just me and the rumble of the engine. The radio had gone to static about 20 minutes earlier, so I shut it off. The GPS started glitching, the map freezing, little jumps, the blue arrow drifting off the road into gray nothing before snapping back. At 229, it started to rain. Not a normal rain, no gradual buildup, no mist. 1 second the windshield was clear, the next it was hammered so hard I had to flick the wipers to max. I slowed down, leaned forward, and squinted into the smear of my headlights on the wet asphalt. The white lane lines blurred into faint ghosts. Then I saw the first car. It was pulled over on the right shoulder, hazard lights off. Just a dark silhouette of a sedan angled slightly toward the ditch. As I passed, my headlights swept across it, and I caught a quick, incomplete impression. The front end was crumpled, windshield shattered, driver's side door open. I didn't see anyone around. I thought, okay, wreck got left behind. Maybe the tow truck's on the way. Still, something about it bothered me. There were no cones, no police flares, no reflective tape, nothing. Just a dead car abandoned in a storm. About 3 miles later, I saw another car on the shoulder. Same spot on the right side, same angle, same shape, same damage. I slowed more, down to about 50. My palms went slick against the wheel. The rain was still pounding, the GPS had frozen completely, and my cell signal was gone. I told myself I was just tired and misjudging things. Maybe it wasn't the same car, but when I passed it, I saw the exact same detail. The driver's side door hanging open at the same angle, windshield spiderwebbed, front bumper twisted downward with one headlight blown out and the other faintly glowing. 7 miles later, I saw it again. At this point, every hair on my arms was standing up. The logical part of my brain tried to come up with explanations. Maybe I was looping somehow. Maybe I had missed an exit and turned onto a service road that circled back to the same area. But the mile markers kept going up. 233, 234, 235. The car appeared just before marker 236, exactly where the fog from the rain swallowed the road into a gray curtain. I slowed to 40, then 35. My truck groaned, trailer shuddering slightly. I flicked on the four-ways and eased past the car, staring. That's when I saw him. There was a man standing just beyond the open driver's door, half in shadow. My lights passed over him quick, but I'll never forget what I saw. He was too still, not like someone bracing against the rain or the wind, just perfectly upright, Arms at his sides, head slightly tilted like he was listening for something. He wore what looked like a dark jacket and jeans, but there was no shine of water on his clothes, no movement of fabric. His face, that's what really burned into me, not that I saw it clearly, but because I didn't. Where his face should have been, there was just an impression of absence, like my eyes refused to focus there. I saw the shape of a head, the outline of cheeks, the faint suggestion of eyes, but everything blurred, as if the rain only fell harder exactly over him. I kept driving. I wanted to stop, but every instinct screamed at me not to. My mouth had gone dry, and I realized I was breathing in shallow, panicked gasps. I gripped the wheel so hard my fingers went numb. A couple of miles later, the rain suddenly cut off. No drizzle, no tapering, just nothing. The road was dry. The sky above me was still thick with clouds, but my windshield was spotless. When I checked the clock, I felt my chest tighten. I'd been in that downpour for almost 40 minutes, but the odometer said I had only gone 9 miles. I told myself I was just shaken up, that my sense of time was off. I took a sip from my thermos and forced myself to calm down. Eventually, the radio came back to life with some late-night talk show, the GPS unfroze, and a few distant taillights appeared ahead. For a while, I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. Until I checked my mirrors. In the reflection of my left side mirror, dim and distorted by tiny water droplets, I saw headlights on the shoulder, way back behind me. A car angled toward the ditch, driver's side door open, and next to it, a man, standing perfectly still. I jerked my eyes back to the road, heart hammering. I didn't dare look again. I told myself it was a trick of the light, some random car off the road. But I knew. Somehow, I knew it was the same car, the same man. I finally pulled into a truck stop about an hour later, hands still trembling. I parked, killed the engine, and just sat there in the sudden silence. The storm hadn't followed me. The pavement outside was dry, and other trucks were lined up neatly, engines humming, drivers walking to and from the diner under the harsh white lights. Inside, I ordered coffee and tried to stop my hands from shaking. That's when another driver, an older guy with a gray beard and oil stains on his cap, slid into the booth across from me like he'd made up his mind about something. "You ran the stretch between 230 and 240 tonight?" he asked without introduction. I stared at him. "Yeah, how'd you know?" "You look like I did the first time it happened." He wrapped his big hands around his mug like he needed the warmth. "You see a wrecked sedan on the shoulder?" My throat tightened. "Yeah." "See it more than once?" I nodded. "See the man?" he asked quietly. I didn't answer, but I didn't have to. He sighed and looked down at his coffee. "They say," he began slowly, "there was a pile up there about 10, 15 years back. Fog came down out of nowhere. One car slammed the brakes, the rest followed. Some spun out, some flipped. Took hours for emergency crews to even get there because of the visibility. By the time they did, there were bodies everywhere." I swallowed. "You were there?" "No," he said. "But I've talked to a few who were. One of the drivers said he crawled out of his car, bleeding, and saw this guy standing next to his wreck, just watching. He tried to call out, but the man didn't move, didn't help. Nothing. Just stood there, head tilted, like he was curious." My stomach churned. "A paramedic?" The old driver shook his head. "They checked body counts. Nobody matched that description, and that's not the weird part. Couple years after, drivers started reporting the same wreck over and over again. Same spot, same car, same watcher. Some pulled over to help. They said by the time they walked up, the car was empty, but they all felt someone standing behind them, breathing down their neck. One guy said he heard a whisper, but when he turned, no one was there. I forced myself to ask, what did it say? He hesitated, then met my eyes. His voice dropped to a whisper. It said, "You drove past me. You all drove past me." The fluorescent lights above us hummed. Somewhere in the diner, a fork clinked against a plate. The normal sounds of a late-night stop suddenly felt paper-thin, like they were covering something else just under the surface. I tried to laugh it off. A campfire story for truckers. He didn't smile. "How many times did you see the car?" I thought about the mile markers. 232, 236, maybe again in my mirror. 3 times, maybe 4. His jaw tightened. "Don't drive that stretch again. Some say the more you see it, the more you're marked." "Marked how?" I asked. He looked past me, out the window, to where my truck was parked under the lights. "They say eventually you don't just see the wreck," he murmured. "You join it." I didn't want to hear any more. I left cash on the table, went back to my truck, and slept in the cab with the curtains drawn, the doors locked, and the interior light on. My dreams were nothing but the sound of relentless rain and a figure standing just outside my headlights, always turned slightly away, waiting for me to stop. A few weeks later, Dispatch tried to put me on that route again. I told them no. They reminded me how many years I'd worked that lane. They said I was being irrational. They hinted that there were plenty of younger guys willing to take my place if I didn't want the miles. I still refused. I've since switched to local work. Short routes, lots of daylight driving. Less money, more sanity. People think I gave up the big leagues because I got tired, or old, or soft. I let them think that. It's easier than explaining what I really fear. Because sometimes, on foggy mornings when I start my truck, I catch a glimpse of something in my side mirror. A shape standing on the far edge of the lot, just beyond the reach of the lights. Not moving. Head slightly tilted. By the time I look again, it's gone. But every time it happens, I get this feeling in my chest like there's an invisible mile marker ticking upward, closer and closer to a number I don't want to reach. If you were in my seat that night on that empty highway, would you have stopped for the wreck or kept on driving like I did?